somewhat shifting gears, but still kind of like talking about what's kind of out going on right now. There's a we saw that 50 Cent had just kind of purchased the rights to Paid in Full, and that there's gonna be a kind of a thing coming out about like Alpo and more so his time in DC. How do you feel about DC getting that type of coverage?
I ain't really impressed or excited that it takes somebody from outside of where I'm from, to do it. Like I ain't want to lose and say, oh yeah, about time. Just like you, I'm a content creator. Uh, 13 years ago, I tried to do it myself with the people that was from here, and we couldn't get along to do it. You can fact check that. So uh, it's always funny to me that it takes somebody from outside of here, a big name like 50 Cent, or somebody to say they're gonna do it, for people to take the attention to do it. And I'm gonna take the time to say this. One of the things that I believe sabotaged the project, the Wayne Perry project that I was working on with some people, right? I think ignorance, and I'm not calling nobody dumb. I think ignorance to the financial and contractual aspects of such a thing, life rights, trademarks, copyrights. I think the ignorance of some of those things and how some of those things go down might have led to the sabotage. And I'm using the word sabotage, intentionally. And it just didn't work out. But in the defense of me as a content creator and as a writer, I saw interest in the story years ago. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Now that you asked the question about 50 Cent, I think that the people that were involved, that I was involved with the Wayne Perry story, are going to see, and they're going to learn that Wayne Perry's name, aside from any life rights, see, a lot of people caught up on life rights. I think those people that's caught up on life rights are caught up on money, right? Money is important. And if there's some money made, like I said, I'm going to say this on your thing too. Don't let me get lost though. More than likely, say Cheese paid Gunna come up at least $500. And me and you both have YouTube channels. So on the Say Cheese 100 Body video, that one did some numbers. He made a couple dollars off of that. Say Cheese ain't sent Wayne nothing. Say Cheese ain't asked for Wayne name or number. When I'm talking about number, I mean Fed number to send him some money. She ain't sent him no money off the Say Cheese interview. When she see this interview, she gonna say, you don't know what I did. You know, I said, she ain't sent him no money. Now she just done another Say Cheese interview. Say Cheese probably gave her crumbs like a crackhead. My fault. That's the first mistake I made. I mean, as far as content. Say Cheese ain't sent Wayne a damn thing right now. She ain't sent him nothing. People say, oh, now he want to talk about it. No, I'm making a point. One of the issues when I was doing it was, who gonna get the money? He gonna get some money off Wayne's name? 50 Cent and Team. I'm gonna say it like that. 50 Cent and Team, if they don't use a DC person for consultation, and I'm gonna just say consultation because you could get a great writer from Switzerland to talk to a person from DC. But my point is that 50 Cent and Team 50 Cent, they have to use some consultation from DC in order to get the story the way to play, the way that they wanted to play out, just for Wayne. Because you can use dudes from New York that have been to DC that can give you DC vibes of the 80s and 90s. Will they be fair or biased? That's another question, right? But as far as what Wayne was allegedly charged with and convicted of, is public. The Washington Post documented a lot of the court stuff. It will be there. I'm saying this not to put 50 Cent in them on point, but to tell you that their team already knows that they can use the public domain part. The other part that these people don't realize, and Gunna Godmother don't know why I got her paperwork, Pacer is not private. It's not a secret society. Anyone that studies law can get a Pacer account. Let me make that clear to y'all. If they go into Pacer and look up Alberto Geddes Martinez or Nathaniel Watkins, who I believe was the head of the case. People don't know that Alpo wasn't even the lead of the case that he went on out of Virginia for the indictment. The dude Nathaniel Watkins, who should be home this year, he should just be coming home. Who Alpo said was hot. I know you don't know about none of this stuff, but some people gonna know it. Alpo said it was hot. I looked his paperwork up and I didn't find that. I'm not gonna say that I don't know, but anyway, that's the Alpo case. Anyway, when you look it up, which I've done, you can look deep into all the notes. The notes still got handwriting notes in it. For a law expert or a law historian like me or a journalist, the Alpo case, if you look it up in Virginia, is way more interesting than the Wayne Perry, Michael Jackson, and Tyrone Seals case, because that case only involved murder. But this case actually involved the surveillance of drug dealing. Anyway, you see how I got all the way off into that? If 50 Cent has a person that's like me, and when you got a couple of dollars, you got a bunch of people that think like me, not necessarily specifically Eyone, but think analytically or critical thinkers, right? They gonna say that, oh, this is public information. We gonna just take this and take that. Now, the only thing that a problem could arise, and I hope Dwayne Perry can't watching this, instead of pretending to the world that y'all got all the paperwork done and the I's dotted and the T's crossed, I hope y'all really have done the trademark aspect of what need to be done, because the trademark aspect is the only thing that's going to protect the name and the likeness of Wayne Anthony Perry.
So kind of like my last question about this, Wayne Perry situation. I wanted to ask from your perspective, somebody like you who, has known him and, met him, interacted with him. You have your you have like your relationship with him, and like even her, she would or just anybody else who knew him would have their relationship with him. How do you feel about, like, say, the normal person who didn't know him looking at him basically saying, why honor somebody like that?
Oh, I think I get your question. Well, first and foremost, just to go straight with the why honor somebody like that, right? A lot of people only know Wayne Perry from the newspaper or the court documents. That's the first thing. So we need to understand that no matter what a person was doing at some point in time in their life, right, that person had another aspect of their life. Like, they've blown this whole hitman killer thing out of proportion. I ain't gonna say that when in Rome, Wayne ain't do as the Romans do, right? For lack of a better term. And anybody that survived the 90s that was in the street and they was active, they had to get their hands dirty to some extent. Wayne shit is magnified. But I'm going to say this about Wayne. For the people who say, why honor somebody like that? A lot of the things that Wayne is accused of doing, he didn't even do. Specifically, before somebody think that I'm naive or I'm gullible. Wayne pled guilty to doing some things, so we not going to sit here and pretend like he didn't do some things. And these some of them questions say Cheese supposed to ask if this person had inside knowledge. But I know for a fact, and many dudes from the even though they wouldn't do it publicly and privately, they're going to agree that Wayne took the weight for some things that other people did. And I ain't talking about he sent somebody to do it. You're technically culpable for that, especially in federal law. But I'm talking about there are things that dudes from the street know were done by other people that didn't have anything to do with Wayne. And once Wayne realized that he was taking a life sentence multiple times over, Wayne did something that I don't know no one else in D.C. has done. And that was, I did that. I did that. I did that one. I did that too. Oh, that's my man. No, I did that one. You never hear nobody talk about this aspect, and I'm not going to give you too much of this aspect because I got an interview with somebody that everybody is going, like, when you hear me say it, people going to think I'm just repeating it. But the person that I'm going to interview was right there as Wayne was. I did that. I did that, man. I did that. Right now, and I got a recorded phone call between Wayne and one of his sons, right? I got a recorded phone call between Wayne and one of his sons, right? Where Wayne is saying, man, tell bruh and them that they locked up for something they didn't do, right? And the peoples know I did it. Tell them I'm going to take my beef. Now, and I'm not saying that in this situation, that's not what it is. I'm saying that this is the type of things that he does. So I don't expect the sister at the church to understand this. I don't expect the mama at the soccer game to understand this. I expect gangsters to understand this. Wayne was a gangster. Now, I would expect a real Muslim to understand that he's become Muslim. He changed his life. I ain't speaking to the regular people, like the people that say, who cares? Muslim, he in jail. I'm talking about to the people like me that went to jail, became Muslim, was able to identify with that change of faith, that acknowledgement of something different, that acknowledgement of something better. And me, right this minute, I could take you when the camera's cut off. I could show you phone calls between me and Wayne, where Wayne specifically saying, I don't want to glorify no street stuff. You know, I ain't with that BS, because that's the way he talk. He don't even curse. He'll say, man, you know, I got old phone calls where he was saying that if we do a project, I'm only talking about how I live now. If someone else talks about my street life, it had to be a person like you or whoever they talking to. So these are things that they don't understand. And I know I got a little bit away from the honor part that you asked me, but you would have to know the dude. And you can't sit here and tell me that you know him, right? Not you. I'm talking about a person can't sit here and tell me that they know him if everything that they know about him came from the newspaper or came from somebody that's telling them a story or some horrible shit that he allegedly done. I want to take a time right this minute for your Say Cheese, your 50 Cent, your everybody. I got a video on my YouTube page, DC Blacks. I believe it's called A Real Wayne Perry Story, but it's by a homie of mine by the name of Michi, right? Michi is C's brother. There is no content on the internet anywhere in the world that is more first person than Michi. I beg anybody to challenge me on that. Now, the reason why certain people see it and say, woo, because the outside world, they looking at Michi and don't know who Michi is. For me to the outside world, I'm telling you, Michi was a young kid, teenager, young adult, through years of the 80s until Wayne went in all the way into the 90s. Michi known him from childhood to early adult and is not as a far or a spectator. If you watch the interview in depth, Michi was in the car. Michi was here and there. Michi was at the go-go. Michi was at the party. If you want real inside story, you got to go to people like Michi, like C. In that just one interview right there, I didn't try to trick Michi into anything. I didn't try to trick Michi into anything, but Michi being from the streets knew how to answer the question. There's one part in there with Michi talking about Potomac God, and shout out to all my Potomac Gods guys, right? Michi answered the question like a vet that he had never done an interview in his life. He said, back in the day, I used to smoke weed a little bit, and I ain't with everybody in my business, and I had a few people up the gardens I used to be with. So when people say, man, niggas ain't got no business on the internet talking about this, talking about that, who did he talk about in that instance? That's the way in which you do it. But nevertheless, he went into a story about Wayne, right? First-hand story. Gun and Cobb mother tried to sit on Say Cheese, said, oh, I can't talk about nothing. She don't know nothing. Michi knew that everybody in town knew that Wayne just showed up sometimes. It was like what you got in your pocket. That wasn't exclusive. He didn't give up no secrets on Wayne. And let me address something right here on your platform that I never addressed, but I just contemplated recently, right? A lot of people keep saying, if they want Wayne to get out of jail, they'll stop talking about Wayne. The people who talk about Wayne don't want Wayne to get out of jail. The peoples ain't gonna let him get out because they keep talking about this and they keep talking about that. I'm talking to the intelligent person right now. I'm talking to you, bro. There's nothing that anyone can talk about on the internet other than a crime that has not been adjudicated or charged that will keep him in jail longer than he's supposed to be in jail. Let's not forget he pled guilty to 5 homicides and got 5 life sentences for that, right? I read the paperwork. I even seen pictures that I have not posted. Like I've seen homicide autopsy pictures. I've seen body dump pictures, okay? From the war on drugs and the stuff that they had in that red rum murder stuff. Like I've seen some of that came by way of people that I'm not going to talk about, right? The stuff that's in his file is far more gruesome and horrific, right, than anything anybody gonna say. Now, I'm not saying that he did this gruesome and horrific. Somebody goes, oh, this ain't gruesome. I'm saying the way in which the FBI wrote the shit up that's in there, that will be presented to a judge, right? It's already in there. Nothing that nobody's saying. Let me defend myself, bro. Ain't nothing that I said gonna be used in no courtroom against him ever in time. And let me say this clear to the people. It's only 2 ways for Wayne to get out of jail for people who don't know. One is by way of a compassionate release. I ain't gonna go into all the aspects of that, right? And well, let me not say 2 ways. I'm gonna say compassionate release and pardon, although other things include that. In my personal opinion, this president won't pardon Wayne Perry. Yeah, he pardoned Larry Hoover, but it was technicalities with that. He knew he wasn't sending them straight home. I don't believe that this president would do a pardon, and I don't believe that a person like Wayne Perry will get out on a pardon. That's just my opinion. I believe that at some point in time, aside from any legal stuff that goes on in the courtroom, that Wayne Perry may be able to get a compassionate release. People say, oh, Eyone crazy. I don't want to mention the guys that I know that got the compassionate release. But I got one guy in my mind right now that had multiple homicides, even in prison. He got out on a compassionate release for specific reasons that got something to do with his case. Reason why I mention homicides in prison is that they have had Wayne in one of the most restrictive prisons in the country, right? Barring a couple of years where he got some fresh air in this prison called Walla Walla when they sent him to state placement. Other than that, Wayne has done the better part of 30 years in ADX. Yeah, he was in transit in Atlanta. Yeah, he was in transit in Lewisburg for a few seconds. Yeah, he went to Marion as a stopover, but they plan to send Wayne to ADX. Not many people other than terrorists come out of the courtroom with the game plan, oh, he's eventually going to ADX, and they plan to send Wayne to ADX before ADX was fully even open and operated. That's how they dealt with this man, right? So I say all that to say that he's been in a restrictive place. The most assaultive behavior, it's only been 2 murders there in history. And to my knowledge, the murders occurred, at least the second murder occurred in what's called a step down. Step down is not even in the ADX building. The first murder between the Mexican mafia and their people, right? It may have happened in the yard, but there were no butcherings and stabbing. Somebody got stomped and pounded to death. When the second murder, somebody got picked up, body slammed, and then stomped on their head. It's not a bunch of knife slinging in the ADX. ADX is a technical killing ground. All right. Wayne Perry don't have no stabbings. He don't have no assaultive behavior in the last 20 years. All the things that you must do to be there, he has done. Second thing, well, no, this is the third thing, and I'm going to leave this there. Because like when I'm talking from some type of expertise, right? And when I'm saying expertise, I don't mean like in me doing, I'm talking about from it being written away, whereas though it's a formula. For an example, you know 2 + 2 is 4. We all agree on that. But if I gave you the formula that said 2 + 2 is 4, at least you know I know what I'm talking about because you know 2 + 2 is 4, right? All right, I got a homie that I'm going to do an interview with that has a very unique understanding of law. And he has a breakdown that I don't want to try to recycle or repeat, but I technically believe that Wayne is locked up under bad law. He pled guilty to things that the statute of those things weren't correct then and had got corrected later. So for people to think that I'm talking crazy when I say that Wayne Perry may have an opportunity at freedom again, I'm coming from a legal aspect. And not only am I coming from a legal aspect, in private, I can name 5 to 10 people who had cases that their free behavior, their free world behavior, and their institution behavior was far more sinister than what they accused Wayne Perry of.